Like and subscribe right now, or else this will be in your bed tonight. r/ask Reddit by Planet Reddit. Doctors, what was the best excuse you've heard for someone having something stuck in their behind? Guy told me he was constipated, so he stuck the broom handle up there to break up the poop. I almost believed him. Edit. It was half of a broom handle, cut off and wrapped in electrical tape, all the way inside his behind. I'd believe that. People are stupid. I would believe that one because severe constipation is absolute hell. Yup, if you've had a stool burden building for a few months, you'll do lots of stuff to finally pass that loaf. I am a nurse, a male as well. Guy came to my hospital with a cue ball stuck in his rectum. Said him and his wife were having sex and this happened. Made no excuses and showed no shame. A doc was unable to remove it with forceps and he had to get anesthesia to have a minor surgical procedure to get it out. My job was basically to just go through a pre-surgical checklist and send him on his way. And when I'm done he shouts excitedly, "Alright, let's get this ball rolling." I almost died laughing. It was near the end of my shift and I always wonder what happened to him. I'm sure he did fine and is back to having amazing kinky sex with his wife. Alright, let's get this ball rolling. This guy has hero material. Can you imagine how long he sat in the hospital chuckling, just waiting to use that line at its utmost opportune time? Edit. Spelling. Who can blame him? It is pretty yucking great mayo. Presented at her in Sydney with carrot stuck in the ass. Doctor, what happened? Patient, I heard a noise in the garden. Went to investigate. Slipped and fell over. Carrot went up my bum. Doctor, carrots grow upside down out your way, huh? Well, Australia is the down under, where women glow and men plunder. Edit. WTF, my 1 AM comment is now my most updated comment ever, lol. I didn't expect that. Can you hear the thunder? It always boils down to the person accidentally sat on it. The best my dad saw, a former emergency doctor, was a young guy who accidentally sat on a giant tub of Vaseline. Accidentally. I asked how doctors record that in their patient files, and the common way to do so is to say the patient claims to have sat on X object. Edit. My dad's thrilled that his story has touched so many of you. This guy, doctors. Tridge. RN. What brings you to the ER today? PT. Earache. Exam room. Same patient. RN. What brings you to the ER today? PT. I think my donkey gave me herpes. Proceeds to drop pants. If the lid was off on the Vaseline, I might have slipped out itself. I took a walk outside and something just flew into my behind. Sir, we are still going to call ASPCA on you. The great blue heron is a protected species. You/that one writing person. The great blue heron is a protected species. Me and Red Dead Redemption 2. Haha. Rifle go pew pew. Same with the bison, smiles shamefully. There was a news story in my country. A man went to the ER and they discovered that he drunkenly put 2 hammerheads in his behind. His reasoning being that he ate a jar of preserved cherries with pits and then had abdominal pain and wanted to smash the pits. Took me a few seconds to realize you didn't mean tiny sharks. Same, but I feel like a shark could have done a better job of breaking them down than an actually hammer. The fact that he genuinely had a banana peel made me laugh more than the entirety of this thread. So I actually once did fall naked in my bedroom and my behind cheek smashed hard onto the end of a small dumbbell that was angles up at 45 degrees. I'm coming to realize after reading all of this that had it hit the bullseye, no one would have fucking believed me. Bruh. Dude brings the fire. I've run across his comments a few times and they're always killers. You could do a full stand-up routine from his comment history, I kid you not. Going in dry with a super hard object like that so quickly would have done you very serious damage. They would believe you. Saw someone with a remote control stuck way up in their colon. She said she was getting herself ready for anal sex with her boyfriend and then it got stuck. The kicker was that she showed up to the hospital with her boyfriend and her husband in tow. I am really curious as to how that conversation went. She wasn't my patient. I was in the ER and got to see the magnificent x-ray. I bet the tech was still like, whoa, hold up. We can't speculate on what this mean. My sister is a surgical nurse and a guy came into the hospital with a pool noodle shoved up his behind. It was so deep that they had to cut open his abdomen. intestines and colon to cut the foam out of him. He said he fell on it while swimming nude, but when they cut him open it had a condom stretched over the end of it. When they confronted him he said, "Please don't tell me, wife." Edit. Wow, thank you everyone for the upvotes and awards. This is my sister's favorite or story to tell. She tells about all the things she's seen after she's had a few drinks, but this one is the best one. Makes for a great tale. No, that would have been fine. The problem is he only had 20% of the pool noodle flopping around behind him like a tail. Jesus. How the hell did shove it up that far? A nurse. I tried to dig something out of my behind with a barbecue skewer. Skewer got stuck. Ripped a hole in his intestines. He waited so long to come and he was septic. One stat or visit and a NICU stay later. Please don't call my mom. Guy was tripping hard on LSD. Was there something a weasel? If so, username checks out hard. You know, I didn't even think to ask him what he was trying so desperately to dig out. Clever comment though. Then what is the origin of your username? The best one I've heard is a priest who had peeled a potato and left it on the side for his dinner. He then decided to hang the curtains back up while nude, and fell off the stepladder onto it. It was in the UK paper years ago. If I find it I'll post the source. Found the source. Vicar hospitalized with potato up his bum. Why'd they have to do him like that? I think he did himself like that. Fell down some stairs and someone left a dildo on the bottom. This made my day. My ex is a nurse. One night she sent me a pic of her computer of what she was working on. 16-year male brought in by his mother. Shoved a sausage up his behind and lost it. Imagine the embarrassment of telling mom, "Hey mom, I lost a sausage in my behind. Can you take me to the fucking kids?" I think I'd just let it kill me if that was the outcome. Taking the sausage to the grave if you will. Believe it or not, my German friend also had a sausage stuck up his behind once. He actually didn't care about people finding out about it. I asked him why not and he just said nah, it's fine. What's the worst that can happen? I'm not finding the link here. Not an excuse, but a medic told me that they have contests about what is the most unexpected thing they pulled out of butts. The winner was a guy that put an electric Christmas decoration, the ones you wrap around the tree. In her own words, the legend doesn't say whether he plugged it or not. I should have asked what the excuse was for that one. Checking list. Blah. Blah blah. Yep, I can see that. Blah. Cat food can. Cat food can. What? How? Cat food can. Worked on ambulances. Not a doctor. Mostly bottles or vegetables. The aubergine was the biggest, but potatoes and carrots seemed to be popular. Ketchup, mayo and glass cola bottles were common at one point. Also one butt plug and a toilet brush. The last two were honest and very distraught. Others all had naked gardening stories. There's an even worse question you haven't asked, which is for things people have shoved up their urethras. Only men in my experience. A light bulb. You could always tell when someone came into the OR with something lodged in their rectum because everyone would be standing around looking at the x-ray. It was still in perfect light bulb shape. I have no idea how the patient got it up there without breaking it. I'll tell you what, they're bobo. Either the kid's got a light bulb up his butt, or his colon's got a great idea. Semicolon Dr. Cox. I just looked this up, and it was a real Scrubs quote. I'll honestly tell you that Scrubs really does a good job of portraying hospital life. A doctor acquaintance once said Scrubs was the most realistic medical show in terms of how hospitals ran, though maybe not all the personal drama. Worked with an ex-paramedic who told me a guy was cleaning his son's room while nude because his only set of clothes were in to wash while his son was at school. Slipped on a sock and ended up getting Buzz Lightyear stuck up his behind. I asked the important question, of course, were the wings extended? He didn't answer, but we both rocked with laughter. I laughed way too hard over this comment. Good job. Not an behind, but a V. I was doing my clinical rotation in 3rd year. Did a cervical assessment on 36W pregnant woman who thought she was in labor, painful cramping, plus discharge. I found 8 gloves of garlic. She thought she could avoid group B strep with it. She read it online. She thought they would dissolve. 1. You can't avoid GBS like this. 2. They turn to slimmer mush bulbs. They don't dissolve. She was not in labor. She was responding to an infection. A nasty one. She was admitted for fluids, object removal, meds, and monitoring of fetus for treatment overnight. I finished my 24/8 shift before the next OB wrapped up. Cramping stopped very soon after we got it all out. Last I saw her she was just feeling sad and dumb. I felt really awful for her. She was trying to do the right thing for her pregnancy. GBS. Gut bacteria found in 1/3 of adults at any time. Some cow tries screen for its presence because in rare cases it does nasty things to baby if they get colonized at birth. I had a patient who was trying to treat bacterial vaginosis with garlic cloves. You have a special knowledge of how thankful I was she'd made a little cheesecloth pouch for it first. All came out in one gloriously funky chunk. Garbage had to go out immediately. My brother was a trig nurse and examined someone that came in with a Barbie doll up their ass. Don't know if they were male or female though. There was a guy who would often come to my friends for Barbie head removals. He had several Barbies he kept in his jacket, held in place by loopholes he had sewn in. They always knew how many heads to look for by how many heads were missing from the Barbies in his coat. The yuck did I just read? Right, it's not my story, but the friend who told me about it is an excellent nurse with no reason to lie to me. We were trading stories one day when she brought it up. If I remember correctly, that pretty much ended the conversation. My mom was a nurse and always remembered the guy whose wife was out of town so he was cooking naked and slipped and fell on a potato. Join our community Discord, link in description. I once had to take a guy to the OR to remove a cucumber from his rectum since it had migrated up further than could be extracted manually. I don't remember his excuse, but it had been in there for more than a week and when we took it out it had started to pickle. I am pickle shy. I've got this one. Not a doctor but Tridge. Guy comes in, walking, kinda awkwardly, doesn't take a seat. When it's his turn, he's called up to Tridge and again, refuses to sit. What brings you in today? I said. I've lost a glass. You know, like a tumbler. Shuffles. Okay, so, why are you here? Well, we had a party that got out of hand last night. I was cleaning the house this morning and I noticed one of my drinks glasses was missing. And I think it might be up my behind. That's it as far as explanation. But sure enough, there it was on x-ray. Rim side first. So after it disappeared up his it basically filled itself with shit. I went to med school in the deep south. Burly, middle-aged southern gentleman showed up in the ED. Chief complaint, rectal pain. After a full history and physical examination couldn't ascertain the case of his pain other than him saying feels like something's up there. We decided to start with some x-rays before we obtained them. He says, alright, I'm gonna be square with you. I was walking down the street, minding my own business, when these thugs jumped me out of nowhere and held me down and stuck a cucumber up my butt. Please, you got to get it out. I immediately went to get my attending. One surgical consultant GI. Consult later. A cucumber wrapped in a condom was extracted from this man's rectum. Hope they caught the cucumber bandits. I was walking down the street, minding my own business, when these thugs jumped me out of nowhere and held me down and stuck a cucumber up my butt. SMH, look how far America has fallen. We have gangs of thugs going around putting cucumbers in people's ass. For though I laughed so hard at this comment. Had this elderly guy come in with a cucumber up there. First month of residency. So my attending asks, why did you put that up there? Why? Dead normal. Says, well, it was just like every Tuesday. I woke up, made some coffee, and sat on a cucumber. Stifling laughter, my attending just said, so you shouldn't do that anymore. He says okay. We removed it and never saw him again. My friend is a nurse. She told me about a guy who came into her. He claimed to have fallen out of a tree and a branch went right up his behind. They x-rayed him and he had this perfectly round wooden rod up his behind. When they removed it they saw that it was sanded, painted and primed. That branch must have come from a genetically modified species of tree, lol. Jesus Christ, how many people just stick random shit up their behind? Edit. Apparently the answer is quite a lot of people do this. A whole lot of sexually frustrated kinky people caught up in the moment of getting their rocks off without actually considering the potential consequences resulting in having to go to the OR for extraction, is my guess. It wasn't an excuse and it wasn't the behind. A young lady in Riverside TX, very heavy meth presence, was dared to stick a live catfish in her V. She shoved it in head first. Those who know catfish know they have very sharp dorsal fins. Well, the dorsal fins lodged in the walls of her V and became stuck. She came into the ER screaming in pain with a live catfish flopping all willy-nilly out of her privates. I wish I still had a copy of that X-ray. Well, my V has packed its bags and noped the yuck out of this thread. I worked on a surgical ward for a while and we had a few strange items. I can't tell you what their excuse was because we saw them post-operatively. One guy stuck not one, not two, but 3 snooker balls up his bum. One guy stuck a clay pigeon up his bum. That one was pretty impressive. One guy, 92, tried to fish out a vibrator with a coat hanger. And my personal favorite, a guy stuck an old Nokia 3310 up his bum. They x-rayed him and took him to theater. They kept trying to fish it out but he kept getting phone calls from his mum wondering where he was. Every time she rang, the phone would vibrate further up his bowel. Remember how back in the day you could get those crappy $2 ringtones where it wouldn't sing the lyrics but it would buzz to the words and music? Guess what his ringtone was? Will Smith's Getting Jiggy With It. Thank you and good night. Not a doctor, but I don't know that I'll have a chance to share this again. Growing up there was an urban legend about a local bloke that had to have a butternut pumpkin, squash, removed from his ass. Fast forward 25 years and I'm reading the book written by my dad's liver specialist, and lo and behold, it wasn't a legend. In fact, an entire chapter was dedicated to gentlemen with foreign objects needing removal from ass and bladder. 20 years ago, an ex was in a nurse. A guy came in with a magic mushroom air freshener stuck up in there. He was embarrassed and did not even attempt to explain it. She said that when the doctor got it out, he said, "Funny, it doesn't smell pine fresh," and everybody laughed. I am kind of surprised that didn't lead to lawsuit. Taking the doctor to court would have involved explaining to the judge what happened. Yes, Your Honor. After the doctor put his medical degree to use by getting elbow deep in me like Jim Henson working Kermit, he made a joke and it made me sad. Trying to reduce prolapsed hemorrhoids he developed after a long, arduous poop doctor term. Of course, I wondered how a vegetable peeler was the most available object to be had in the bathroom. The vegetable peeler became stuck, as these things tend to do. However, this was the kind with slits in the plastic and his formerly prolapsed hemorrhoid tissue protruded into the slits, making it impossible to remove. Also cutting off blood supply which made them necrotic by the time we went to the OR. What kills me is that his next move to try to remove this object from his anus was to try to cut it out with scissors. OMG. It was horrible. A jagged piece of plastic wedged in, horrifying and, indeed, quite memorable. A glass water bottle in his behind and he's desperately trying to find an excuse not one would really ask at that point actually. He finally said, "I don't remember who put it there. Couldn't you just fell from some stairs or something?" 1 in a million shot. Doc, I swear. Friend is a stomach surgeon so always gets called in to pull things out of asses. He has loads of stories but the one I remember is a guy who had a glass ketchup bottle up his ass. He'd claimed to have returned home with his grocery shopping, realized he'd lost his key so put shopping down and attempted to climb through a high window. He slipped, fell backwards ass first onto his groceries and SHLUM. The ketchup bottle just shot up his a-hole. Ignore that guy was presumably not naked at the time. After removing it at the hospital, my doctor friend said that's strange. The ketchup you bought is only half full. I think the worst thing is that it suggests he was gonna eat the rest of it another time. Had a patient who showed up with his soon-to-be ex-wife. They were reconciling at a nearby motel. She convinced him that if he loved her, he would let her put a dildo in his behind. Only it wasn't a dildo. It was her vibrator without a flared base. Rule number 1 of anal play is make sure that it has a flared base. Rule number 2 is nothing sharp. The whole thing went up there and he couldn't get it out. I had to take it out under anesthesia. She felt awful and was crying the whole time. He was a very blue collar, normal dude and she was dressed in very fancy clothes, an unlikely match in my mind. He was just happy that they were at my urban hospital and not the uppity town about 15 miles away where they lived. I often wonder what became of them and their marriage. Why are you asking? You okay there, buddy? Yeah, I'm fine, just curious. Had a guy with a screwdriver up there, handle first. He was honest. Said the wife wanted to try something new. Why the screwdriver? Something shaped like a D would have been gay. I always thought that was a real weird place to draw that line. Without reading any other comments, I will say that the overwhelming excuse my medical student roommates and myself, who are all now doctors, trained in Philadelphia, have heard is, I fell on it. That's it, nothing else. I once saw a dude with 2 dildos in his behind because he fell on the first one and tried to get it out with the second one. Philistron. There was a woman who came into the OR with 4 plastic horses in her bum. She's listed in stable condition. It wasn't me, I swear it was my girlfriend testing if anal is pleasuring for men. Edit. Thank you all for my first ever 100, 200 and 300 upvotes. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for 3 videos a day.